With a brilliant mind, a conflicted soul, and an inner demon that rears its ugly head in the most unique of ways, Bruce Banner and his alter ego, the Incredible Hulk, have always managed to pack a punch, especially when Bruce gets angry. With a vast array of storylines and interpretations, the core fundamentals of the Hulk have remained consistent during his years in existence, making him a fan favorite. Much of his backstory was influenced from the pages of some of the best-known and revered literature in history, which in turn has made him one of the longest-standing and appealing heroes in the MCU lineup. Without further ado, let's take a look at what makes the Incredible Hulk such an iconic Marvel character. First appearing in May of 1962 in his first titular outing, the Incredible Hulk was created by writer Stan Lee and comic book artist Jack Kirby. Citing influences from Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Stan Lee had been in the midst of creating a flawed hero to stand out amongst his stable of stellar characters. He sought to create a being who possessed not only the otherworldly traits associated with a superhero, but a deep and troubling character history that had him toting the line between hero and monster. It was in the character of Bruce Banner where these two artists found an outlet to express some of the influences that inspired them during their upbringing. They wanted to create one of, if not the most flawed character in their lineup of heroes, and boy did they do that 10 times over. On the cusp of Hulk's inception, Stan Lee had recognized that the Thing, a recent invention and one of the members of the Fantastic Four, was a crowd pleaser, to say the least. Lee recognized that readers were more drawn to flawed characters such as the Thing, and therefore wanted to create something that would appeal to audiences and the shared human experience of struggling with one's inner conflict. Along with the golem of Jewish mythology and a speculated representation of an artist's reaction to the Cold War, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby merged a hybrid of influences, and in turn introduced comic book fans to the Incredible Hulk. Believe it or not, the initial color scheme of the Hulk was gray, seeing as it was supposed to be easy to print and didn't identify with any specific ethnic group. However, colorist Stan Goldberg would end up pointing out after the first issue that the different shades of gray that appeared on page made Hulk look vastly different from panel to panel. Finding that the color green suited their needs well, the character as he's known today was forged, with even some reprints emerging where the original gray tones were replaced. Brilliant nuclear scientist Bruce Banner is a man who's just as troubled as he is brilliant. Mistakenly referred to as Bob Banner by his creator on several occasions, this discrepancy was later acknowledged by Stan Lee, which in turn saw the character end up possessing the full name Robert Bruce Banner. An introvert and a rock star in the field of nuclear physics, Banner immediately catches the eye of the US government, who plans to use his brilliance to forge weapons. Initially resistant to this ideology, he eventually accepts work at a research facility in the New Mexico desert, because he has to find some way to pay his bills. Upon Banner's arrival, he forges an immediate connection with Betty Ross, the daughter of General Thaddeus Ross, the man overseeing Banner's gamma radiation project. General Ross and Banner don't see eye to eye, and Ross views Banner as a weak man who doesn't embody the strength and leadership that Ross knows he possesses in droves. Ross's disdain for Bruce reflects Bruce's own troubled history with his father, who was abusive and neglectful to his needs, and started the process of Bruce internalizing his agony to the point that it eventually became manifested in the greenest of ways. During the test detonation of a gamma bomb, Bruce Banner saves Rick Jones by nudging him into a trench before being hit by the blast in which he's exposed to copious amounts of gamma radiation. That evening, and with Rick Jones playing witness, Banner sees his first transformation as the Hulk in his gray form, and is dubbed so by a soldier in the military base where Bruce is stationed. With pent-up aggression already stewing inside of him, Banner's transformation into the Incredible Hulk is one fueled by his mental afflictions and triggered by the gamma radiation. General Ross, already toting a dislike for Bruce, begins a lifelong pursuit of taking down the Hulk after his first appearance. A tug of war between the characters is created, and it's one that would play out against the backdrop of comics for decades. However, after its initial run in the 60s, Marvel canceled the Incredible Hulk only 6 issues in. But due to positive fan reaction, the character saw guest appearances in other Marvel storylines, including the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. After becoming one of the founding members of the Avengers, but leaving the team after just one issue, the Hulk gained significant traction when he was featured in Tales to Astonish number 60 on October 1964. Eventually, the Hulk took over the magazine entirely, shoving other characters like Giant Man and Namor the Submariner to the side, and being renamed the Incredible Hulk with issue 102 back in April of 1968. Although the dichotomy of Bruce Banner and the Hulk have always remained consistent, he'd see a more sophisticated delineation in June of 1971, when fantasy writer Harlan Ellison and writer Roy Thomas tackled the character in The Incredible Hulk number 140. This would inspire other artists and writers to delve deeper into Hulk's psychosis and blueprint the specific mental afflictions that make him tick, and which served as canon for the character in years to come. What's noteworthy about the character is the initial hatred and fear that he evokes in other characters, and the bystanders in which he comes across. He's not like Captain America, showing up with a salute and a boyish grin. He's a scary and formidable creature. But while being brutish and unforgiving, the Hulk still possesses a microcosm of Bruce's personality that ends up helping focus the Hulk's rage on the proper enemies during several occasions, and clarifying him as a conflicted hero, but a hero nonetheless.
Puny god.
The constant battle to control his inner demons is the central theme of the Hulk, and it's one that pays off in emotionally rewarding ways when our favorite not-so-jolly green giant saves the day. The Hulk, throughout his tenure in comics, successfully cured himself of his episodes on multiple occasions, but they always seem to come back and resurface, further adding to Banner's frustrations as he, the wandering warrior, just sought to live life as a normal, everyday guy. The Hulk even experiences a pivotal moment in his history when he and Banner are separated into two beings in the 80s by John Byrne. But he ends up going back to his roots of being a single entity when Alan Milgrom took the reins. As Banner continued to experience setback after setback, the Hulk's strength and brutality only grew in size, and made him only more formidable as the series went on. When looking at the Hulk's on-screen representation, played by several different actors, audiences saw the journey of the Hulk play out in a way that wonderfully encapsulated the character. Though the character had a solid run with Lou Ferrigno portraying everyone's favorite green beast, it was in 2003 when Eric Bana took on the character that a more modern example of the Hulk was born. But not to everyone's delight. In 2008, the first MCU installment of the character showed up in theaters, and the franchise was rebooted. With Edward Norton taking on the role, a more true-to-nature representation of the Hulk began, and the first chapter of the character's journey began, and was brought full circle over 10 years later in Avengers Endgame. In the 2008 version, the gamma radiation accident still serves as the nexus for Banner's transformation. During the opening credits, we witness a nightmarish glimpse of Bruce's recollection of the event in which his Hulk out nearly kills Thaddeus Ross and his daughter Betty before casting Bruce into exile. The plot then sees Banner staying true to the character's arc as he struggles to keep the Hulk in check and search for a cure, battling Thunderbolt Ross and his point man Emil Blonsky, who later turns into the reviled villain Abomination in the film's climax. As the MCU film series progressed, Bruce Banner sees himself fulfilling the role of giving aid to S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers in the form of his brilliant mind. Banner is a genius, and his smarts help pay off on several occasions, from his dissection of the Tesseract in the first Avengers to his assistance in helping Tony crack time travel in Avengers Endgame. Along with Banner's brain helping fuel the fight, it's the other more infamous part of his ego who shows up during those moments when something or someone needs to be knocked clear across a room. The Hulk consistently finds himself being cast in and out of exile, struggling to maintain relationships with all of his fellow Avengers, with standout moments coming in the form of his kinship with Thor and his on-again, off-again romance with Black Widow. The 2008 film, though successful, wasn't well received and has been nearly completely retconned. The torch was passed to Mark Ruffalo in a more subtle yet thoroughly engaging performance that was more widely embraced by fans and audiences alike. The Hulk, much like he did in the comics, would cross over with several different storylines, but still serving the purpose of fulfilling the legacy that is Bruce Banner searching for a cure. The most notable instance in which the Hulk saw his character undergo a much-needed metamorphosis was undoubtedly in the film Thor Ragnarok. We learned that Hulk, having essentially banished Banner from their shared body for being too weak, has reached a pinnacle in his struggle. After years of enduring intense psychological distress for the collateral damage that Hulk has created, Hulk has seemingly taken over full time and rejected the overwhelming emotional burden that Banner carries as a result. Essentially, the fuel that feeds into the Hulk is pumping overtime into his engines. During a particularly emotional scene, Hulk confides with his good buddy Thor that he's like a raging fire. It's clear in this moment that all of the turmoil Banner has undergone has finally broken him down and caused the Hulk to take over as the primary driver. It's only through his kinship with Thor in Ragnarok that the Hulk is able to break through his mental barrier and allow our good old buddy Bruce to once again show his face, and borrow some stuff from Tony Stark's closet in the meantime. We'd later see the reverse happen after the events of Infinity War, where the Hulk was dominated by Thanos so badly he refused to come out for the rest of the film. However, in Avengers Endgame, the search for a cure is finally achieved when Banner learns that he can possess both the brutish strengths of the Hulk while still being mentally aware, essentially booting out the Hulk but still holding on to his formidable size and classic color scheme. It was a strong callback to the Professor Hulk character in The Incredible Hulk number 377, in which Banner was able to hold on to his intelligence and coherence while still maintaining Hulk's size and formidability. The MCU films do justice to the Hulk and the struggles of Bruce Banner. Though there are differences with his appearance and style in several cases, his drive and psyche nonetheless remain intact throughout the course of the films. While the Hulk doesn't have a costume and sometimes walks around stark naked like in Thor Ragnarok, his overall appearance is well known by many and is easily identifiable even to non-comic book fans. After evolving from his gray, almost putty-like appearance, Hulk's signature green skin and towering gargantuan appearance has always been a signature and eye-catching look. Clocking in at 7'6" and 1,150 pounds, Hulk's sheer size and ferocity is his greatest asset, along with those iconic purple pants or ripped jeans. While the Hulk has seen many different versions of himself in the page and on screen, his mass and strength have remained intact since his first appearance in the 60s. When breaking down the abilities and powers of the Hulk, there's no shortage of advantages. Once Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk, he possesses superhuman strength that can only be superseded by individuals the likes of Thor and Captain Marvel. Hulk's potential strength is seemingly limitless. On numerous occasions, he's been quoted as being able to lift up to 100 tons, and has even managed to knock out 3 members of the Fantastic Four lineup. Let's also not forget that excellent sucker punch he took at Thor in the first Avengers film. It's also well known that the angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger he becomes. You'll pretty much know when those moments arrive because you'll hear our favorite Green Goliath yell out, "Hulk smash!" The Hulk's strength is by far one of his best advantages, and is continuously tested and exceeded its limits. In many instances, he's withstood gas, fire, bullets of every caliber, and even attacks from tanks and rocket-propelled grenades. Coupled with his strength, the Hulk also possesses the ability of self-sustenance, superhuman speed, stamina, durability, and prolonged longevity. He may be a big guy, but boy can he jump and run. On par with the likes of Wolverine, he also totes a regenerative healing factor that helps him heal quicker and sustain significant damage. A noteworthy element about the Hulk is also his ability to manipulate gamma radiation, essentially allowing him to increase in size and strength, which has been showcased in many comic storylines as well as his on-screen outings. The madder he gets, the bigger he gets. Other notable traits of the Hulk include his ability to breathe underwater and adapt to whatever environment he's in. Although Hulk's powers and advantages are many, they're also a weakness in many ways. Banner himself is a brilliant man, but the animal-like mentality of the Hulk is one that relies solely on aggression and shows of strength. This lends itself to Hulk in many instances decrying puny Banner and allowing him to take over as the sole occupant of Banner's body many times over. Being that Bruce Banner is continually struggling to suppress the Hulk from emerging, it's when he's in his full green state that a litany of damage is left in his wake. This only further adds to Bruce's stress levels, which in turn simply keep fueling the Hulk's rage. It's a vicious cycle. It's profoundly fascinating and fulfills the legacy of his Jekyll and Hyde roots. Hulk's enemies and friends aren't in short supply. During the history of his publication, many recurring characters have reared their heads in both the comics and films. Possibly the most natural relationship to point out is his relationship with Betty Ross, the daughter of Thunderbolt Ross and Banner's longest-standing love interest. In the comic book series, Banner and Betty eventually married. At one point, she was killed due to poisoning by the Abomination, then later revealed to have been preserved cryogenically. It was around this time that Betty would transform into the character of Red She-Hulk. Betty's relationship with Bruce is a pivotal one. She tends to be the goal that he places in front of himself as he searches for solace and a cure, continually winning and losing Betty to a barrage of storylines that have played out, and always making sure that the drama of the series is never short on supply. The Hulk also sees members of his family playing a significant role throughout the series. This included Brian Banner, Bruce's father. Brian Banner was killed in an accident by Bruce's hand, but later returned as a vengeful spirit. Glimpses of this plotline could be seen in Ang Lee's 2003 iteration of the character, even if the film was a bit meh. Rebecca Banner, Bruce's mother, also serves as a pivotal nexus for a Hulk's character arc when she was murdered by Bruce's father in front of his eyes, essentially starting the chain reaction of events that would eventually pave the way for him turning into the Hulk. Jennifer Walters, Bruce Banner's cousin, also makes an appearance as She-Hulk when she receives a blood transfusion from Bruce. SKAAR, Hulk's son, also comes about during World War Hulk, as does his other son, HIRO. We even see Scorpion, who might be his daughter and isn't the Spider-Man Scorpion. Along with all the family elements, the Hulk sees many allies coming to his aid throughout the course of the series and films. In the MCU, the first real friend Banner makes is Tony Stark, which is made clear in the first Avengers film. Banner and Stark are much on the same level in terms of intelligence, and this serves up a hefty dose of nerd-out moments and humor. As the films progressed, and starting with Avengers Age of Ultron, we see a critical relationship in Hulk's life play out with his relationship with Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. It's no surprise that Black Widow and Hulk find solace in one another, being that their character delineations are quite similar. Both have troubled pasts and continuously grapple with their lethal and sometimes destructive abilities. It was always a question of will they, won't they, and it was a factor that was just as frustrating for them as it was for us. Another standout relationship for Hulk comes in the form of Valkyrie and Thor in the film Thor Ragnarok. Valkyrie's character arc in this film is actually quite similar to the Hulk's in that she's constantly battling with her internal demons and her past, which fuels her anger. That's why it's no surprise the two hit it off like a couple of drinking buddies who do nothing more than enable one another. Along with Valkyrie, Hulk finds solace in his longtime friend Thor, who's going through a similar emotional predicament with his own story. This leads the trio to eventually confide in one another and team up in the climax of the film, essentially doing a 180 with their characters and finding some semblance of peace within themselves by the time the credits begin to roll. While looking at the entire list of Hulk's foes, it'd be impossible to cover all of them in this section. Sorry, CBR fans, we only have so much time. However, several villains are working against Hulk and have managed to make their way onto the silver screen. The first that comes to mind is Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination. The Hulk's primary rival, Abomination, matches Hulk's gamma-soaked physicality and prowess, nearly killing him on several occasions and featured prominently in the 2008 film The Incredible Hulk. Along with Abomination, other notable villains that were seen on the page include Zemnu the Titan, Zax the Living Dynamo, embodied by Banner's father in the 2003 Hulk film, Tyrannus, the Wendigo, the UFOs, and many others. Going back to the films, standout representations of Hulk's most formidable adversaries include Samuel Stearns, aka the Leader. In the 2008 film, and first appearing in Tales to Astonish number 62, the genius Samuel Stearns was exposed to gamma radiation in the same vein that Banner had been. However, instead of increasing Stearns' size, it enhanced his already brilliant mind and made him one of Hulk's most diabolical nemeses. A visible standout amongst the lineup of opponents is undoubtedly General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, father of Bruce's love interest Betty and a 4-star general hell-bent on bringing Bruce down at any cost. The relationship between the Hulk and Ross is eerily reflective of Bruce Banner's relationship with his father. Like Bruce's father, Ross sees him as a weakling, unable to satisfy Ross at any turn and reinforcing the abusive stereotypes that Bruce tends to associate with authoritative male figures. One can safely say that Bruce marrying his daughter only doubled down on that hatred. What's interesting to note is that despite Ross's dislike for Bruce Banner and the Hulk, there are several moments in the comics and the films that see the General having to rely on Hulk and his brutish strength to save the day. Banner, for the most part, tended to have the last laugh, or in this case, the last smash. The cultural impact of the Hulk is one that cannot be overstated. Since his start in the comics, the Hulk has attracted audiences and fans of all ages. Not due to just his appearance and strength, but also because of his afflictions and his overall character arc. The Hulk is flawed, perhaps one of the most troubled heroes in the Marvel Comics canon. He's a being who's continuously treading the line between being defined as a hero or a savage beast. But at the end of the day, he always seems to manage to do the right thing. It's well known that the best types of superheroes are the ones who sport the shared human flaws and experiences that all people go through on a daily basis. It's not difficult to recognize that the conflicts of the Hulk are a mirror image of the exact things that everyone goes through: inner turmoil, regret, suppression of anger, and struggling to define who a person is. These are the elements that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were striving for when they created the Incredible Hulk, and one can safely say that they achieved their goal with flying colors. To have the ability to create a hero that's so incredibly reflective of the fundamental traits of the human experience is what continues to draw readers and audiences to characters in Marvel comics and films. So just remember, if you're ever feeling like you're struggling in life or trying your best to not freak out while you're sitting in copious amounts of traffic, always know that there's a particular fictional character out there who takes the cake. His name is Robert Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk. And his coping mechanisms with the same issues will make your worst day look like his best. And that's everything you need to know about the Hulk from his first appearance in the comics to his most recent appearance on the big screen. So, what'd you think? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR to stay up to date with all of our new content. Thanks for watching.